Well, I think their number one issue, poll after poll, shows that they care about one thing, the economy. And that's their driving force for what motivates them to the polls, the issue that they care the most about. And obviously, on social issues, they tend to be more moderate or liberal, and that tends to align them more with the Democratic Party. But certainly with the president's track record on the economy the last 6 years, it's not been so well. Yeah. And so I think that opens the door, at least for Republicans.
Once upon a very recent time, there were smiles all around the Republican Party as they were assured millennials, those younger and much needed voters, were tired of Barack Obama and the Democrats and were heading to the right come midterms. However, there are warning signs and subtle hints at the moment that these young libertarians and others of a desirable age aren't thrilled with much of what Republicans are selling and may be about to defect before they were ever really in the fold. Welcome to MidPoint. She is a millennial blogger, radio host, and political activist, heard and read in such groups as PolitiChicks, Alyssa Lafage, and the opinion editor at the Daily Caller, Jordan Bloom. We thank both of you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Alyssa, I'm going to start out with you. Here's what caught our attention right here. Big headline in Politico, beware GOP. Millennials don't like what we're hearing. Wait a minute now. Weren't we just told not long ago that millennials were actually falling in love with the right and the Republicans were going to be their party of choice?
Well, I think the Republicans haven't done a great job with one thing, and one thing particularly, and that is their messaging. I think that our ideas, conservative ideas, they definitely work for young people, for millennials, but unfortunately we don't have very good communicators. A lot of our leaders, as I say, they have marbles in their mouth, and when they get up there, they talk and they just don't connect with people in my age range. I think that's one of the biggest problems we have. I think that our ideas are great. It's just getting that message out.
But why is it so important if you get a message out? And I understand, certainly there are those out there who can barely speak or understand any sort of written word at this point of time. But why is that so important, just to be able to at least get a message out? Can't millennials read?
Yeah, we can, but think about it. Look at Barack Obama's presidency. I mean, I feel as though his ideas weren't that great, but he was able to use a great message, something that was easy for people to understand, something that really, stuck. And he was able to be successful. Unfortunately, we don't have those types of communicators, but we have the right ideas. So again, I really think we need to find more people that are able to articulate our message so that we can grow the party.
Jordan, let me get to you on this right now, because what we're hearing here, I mean, to some people who are like 9,000 years old perhaps, may think that, well, wait a minute here, the message is out there. It seems this is pretty shallow if all millennials want to be able to hear is just somebody who sounds good.
Yeah, I guess I'm of the opinion that this trend in a right-wing direction by millennials has been overstated for a long time. If you look at the good polling, like from Reason Group recently, the things that show millennials tracking in a more libertarian or conservative direction, it's on things like the nanny state and war. They're sick of war and they don't have time for the nanny state. They've never really softened too much. They still support a strong safety net. Oh, and then the big third thing is that they are finally starting to object to the generational theft aspects of entitlements. I think all those things are positive, but it doesn't amount to a comprehensive turn right, and it never did.
All right, now here's a graphic that we have up right now, and the question, simply put, is would you support a socially liberal, fiscally conservative political candidate? And this is about 2,000 young adults between the ages of 18 and 29. And the poll says absolutely, 53% says yes. So is that the key? And let me just, Jordan, I'll stay with you. Socially liberal, fiscally conservative. Is that what you believe millennials have got to hear?
Yeah, maybe, but if you look at a socially liberal, fiscally conservative person, I mean, that's most Republicans in New York, right? That doesn't necessarily mean they're libertarians.
All right, so then what is, well, hang on a sec. Let me go back to Alyssa on this. How about your stand on that? Socially liberal and fiscally conservative. Is that the answer?
No, I don't think it's the answer. I think once you think through a lot of these fiscal issues, you have no choice but to be a little bit more socially conservative. It doesn't make much sense to steal from one person and give to another, to put it very simply. And that's socially wrong. So, I mean, I think you just have to think through some of these issues a little bit more.
All right, so I'm going to get to issues here. Jordan, back to you here. Issues. Let's stop talking about optics for a change, because that's what I'm hearing coming back here, that it's all about the optics. It's all about that, can you communicate well? Issues, issues, issues. Number one issue we are told with millennials has got to be the economy. Is that it?
Yeah, maybe.
You're hedging there, boy. I'll tell you. We hear, yeah, maybe. That's we don't hear that much.
That they're coming around to the generational theft thing, I think, is really the message for Republicans.
What is generational theft? What exactly is that?
That entitlement programs like Social Security and Medicare, particularly Social Security, amount to money being taken away from millennials today that they're never going to get back when they're retiring. And that they feel like they're getting a raw deal completely justly. And the Republican Party needs to do a much better job making that case.
Okay, what is it they need to do? You first.
It's hard. It's hard to make that case without saying let's throw grandma off a cliff, right? It's sort of not exactly a very compassionate tack to take, but compassionate conservatism hasn't gotten us very far either.
All right, so let's go to you, Alyssa. What is it they've got to do right now? Grab them right now. Here it is. The Republicans are standing out. You're the one sitting right out here. Here it is. Grab them.
Government does not drive prosperity. We want smaller government. We want them to do the things they're supposed to do. And I think we need to talk more about those things. Yes, we want to pay for police. Yes, we want to pay for roads and bridges. But there's other things they don't need to be paying for or doing. We're tired of those things.
Okay, so then is it simply what I'm hearing, and again, I'm just kind of grabbing it all in here. It sounds to me as if what we're basically getting to is the Republican Party is a bunch of old guys. For whatever reason, that's what I'm hearing coming back. So, wait a minute, Jordan, I see you nodding your head. Is that exactly what it is?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that tends not to get factored into these polls is you're looking at with the millennial generation. We've been at war in Iraq their entire lives. We're going on our 25th year of action in Iraq, and I don't think the millennials still trust the Republican Party. I mean, the Bush administration was planning to invade Iraq 3 months after 9/11. If there's not the sense that a next Republican administration would have saner hands in charge, I don't think millennials are going to come back around because they're sick of war.
Okay, but then how could they trust the Democrats? Here's the other side of that. Many people will say...
They certainly couldn't trust Hillary, that's for sure.
Okay, why?
Because she's going to be just as aggressive.
But when you say not trusting Democrats as well, I mean, trusting Republicans, couldn't the same thing be said for Democrats then? Because the president is now putting us into a war footing.
That's absolutely correct. And the polling, I think, bears that out, right? It's not necessarily that young people are progressive, it's they're independent. There are higher numbers of independents than there ever have been.
All right, Alyssa, go for it here. Is it, because we're just trying to figure this out here, and it already is becoming so complicated. Can't you young people stop making it so complicated, please? I mean, let's just go for the one thing here. Who do you trust now? I mean, because what we're hearing is you don't trust Republicans because of one thing. You don't trust Democrats because of another thing. So, I mean, here's a graphic right here and a number. How do millennials view government? 66% believe government is inefficient and wasteful. All right, is that the truth? Do you think that's the key?
Well, yes, it is true. And I think that my generation is seeing that firsthand. Inefficient and wasteful. Look just to Obamacare. Look just to the things that this administration is spending money on and has as its priority. You know, we are seeing this and we're like, well, is government doing things that are helping us, or is government doing things that are hurting us? And more times than not, it's that there's too much government and they're not doing the things that we think they need to be doing.
Isn't it fair to say, Alyssa, that when we come down and we're talking to millennials here and a lot of this explosive growth of libertarian groups on campuses and communities across the country, that basically we can just say, you're sick and tired of everybody?
I think that is very true. And I think that's why a lot of people, you know, especially young people, look to a leader like Rand Paul, for instance, because he doesn't seem like a Republican. Of course he is, and his belief system aligns up with us perfectly, but he just has a very independent feel. And I think that young people definitely want to have that individualism. They relate to individualism, and he does such a great job of putting out that message.
Jordan, you fall for this whole thing on Rand Paul because some people say absolutely he's exactly the answer. Others say he flip-flops just as much as anybody else.
I think he definitely harmonizes with millennial values better than any other candidate in the field right now. However, my one cautionary note would be, I'm pretty close with a lot of these libertarian student groups, and I support them entirely. And they really have grown exponentially in the last couple of years. Like Students for Liberty had their first conference in West Africa this year. And so they're expanding on a level we've never even seen before. However, that doesn't necessarily translate into an army of foot soldiers for Rand Paul, right? Because libertarians have a pretty independent disposition. And even, Rand Paul endorsing destroying ISIS, he's sort of violated certain libertarian dogmas that, he's going to have to answer for.
All right, 10 seconds each to both of you. Jordan, I'll get to you right now. Libertarians are walking into the voting booth right now. They're getting ready to pull the lever. One person pull the lever right now for president. Who is it?
For me, it'd be Rand Paul.
Okay, Alyssa?
Gosh.
Pull the lever. Come on, pick one.
Pull hold off on giving you an answer for that, to be honest with you.
Okay. No, that's fair. It's all right. We still got to figure this out, but we at least have to bring the millennials together here. We're just trying to, those of us who are at least 120 years old, we're just trying to understand is all we're doing. Alyssa Lafage and Jordan Bloom, thank you so much for a spirited conversation. We're going to have this one again, trust me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, later on this hour, round the dial and stop the spin on a former White House spin master who can no longer spin on his new job. And after the break, they are illegally in America, yet attending school. Let the debate begin right here on MidPoint.